Welcome, everyone. I now call this meeting to order. Is there any remote participation today? I believe we do, right?
Member George Carr.
George is here remotely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh,
Yes, do you want me to go ahead and require a motion for that?
yes.
Okay, today we require a motion for that. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Welcome, Mr. Carr.
Thank you.
Okay. Now moving on to the roll call. Roll call, please.
Member Chiesa.
Aye.
Member Graywall.
Here.
Member Buck Condit.
Here.
Member Chance Condit.
Present.
Member Withrow.
Here.
Chair Lopez.
I said here.
Thank you. Member Carr.
Here.
Members Wallen. Here. Member Escutia Brayton. Here. Member Wright.
Here.
Member Graham.
Here.
Member Gilbert.
Here.
Member Clausell.
Here.
Member Hernandez.
Here.
Member Phillips.
Here.
Member Gokin.
Here.
And we have our Caltrans member.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum in the room.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now move on to public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on any items on the agenda. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes unless the chair of the committee sets a different time limit. The policy board cannot take any action on matters not on the agenda unless the action is authorized by section 54954(2) of the government code. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make a comment? Now is the time. Seeing none. Anybody online?
No.
Okay, we will now close public comment. Bring it back for a presentation. This will be a presentation, Del Puerto Canyon Reservoir, a roadway relocation project. And we have, so who will be doing this presentation?
Good evening. My name is Mike Piers. I manage Northern California's
Welcome, Mike.
TY Lynn Road and Highway Practice. I'm here today with the Del Puerto Reservoir Program Team, Anthea Hansen, the Executive Director of the Del Puerto Water District, Chris White, the Executive Director of the, let me get this straight, San Joaquin River Exchange Contractors Water Authority.
You get an A. That's
All right, good. And Andrew Dorman, who is our Governmental Affairs Director for TY Lynn. He's just here to make sure I don't say anything stupid, which is a tough job for him. So if we can go to the first slide, please. I'm going to let Anthea take it over. I'll come back and talk about the roadway a little bit and really bore you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Lopez, commission members, staff. Thank you for having us. I'm going to go quick through the first part. I apologize to my county supervisors. You saw this a couple weeks ago, and it's not a different presentation. As Mike said, I'm the general manager of Del Puerto Water District. We're housed in Patterson, California, and my agency serves 45,000 acres of farmland on the west side of the county here. Chris's agency, the San Joaquin River Exchange Contractors Water Authority, serves about 250,000 acres. So together we serve about 300,000 acres of water that's reliant on supplies from the Central Valley Project. We do get our supplies through the Delta Mendota Canal, which is the smaller of the two canals that run parallel to I-5 on the west side. And our allocations from that canal are highly variable. And we have an inability in good years to store water and take it into years that may be less plentiful. Thus, one of the major reasons for the project. Next slide, please. We want to build a reservoir so that we can have locally owned and controlled south of Delta water storage. Next slide. So the location of the reservoir is just a little bit to the northwest of the city of Patterson. You can see it on the map there. Just not too far from Interstate 5 and the California Aqueduct and the Delta Mendota Canal, which is shown in the yellow. And the main reservoir dam would be built if any of you recall, on the notch of that Del Puerto Creek flows through, which Del Puerto Creek is a very intermittent stream. It runs an average annual about 3,500 acre feet a year. Most years it's dry by springtime. In good years, it does run longer, but primarily the supply that we would capture is not from the creek itself. It would be water that we would pump up from the Delta Mendota Canal for storage when it's available, and then take it down from the canal during the tough years, which is important to us because the main bottleneck in the Central Valley project is moving water past the pumping plants that are up near Tracy. Once we get it south, if we have it in storage, then it will be available to kind of even out our reliability. Next slide, please. So that's a close-up picture. So you can see most of you are probably familiar with this area. Next slide. So this tells a little bit of a story numerically of why we're so interested in this project. These are the average CVP allocations for Del Puerto Water District and the ag service contractors that are served by the Central Valley project over time. And you can see in the recent 20 years or so, the allocations have just become more and more variable. In the last 10 years, our average is only 39% of our contract supply. And 4 of those 10 years, my agency received 0% of its supply. We were reliant during those times on any other water we could purchase on the open market. Excessive use of groundwater, and are very reliable and dependable recycled water that we receive from the cities of Modesto, Turlock, and Ceres. Thank you very much. Next slide. For those of you that farm here on the east side of our county, you do things in inches. I do things in acre feet, but for those farmers in the room, that equates to an average of about 14.98 inches. That is not enough to grow any crop that I'm aware of. Next slide. So our project, in addition to water supply, proposes multiple benefits. Of course, our reliability was the main impetus for our water supply for agriculture and for groundwater management under SGMA on the west side. We also have great environmental benefits with this project. We are proposing to provide some storage and some water supply to the south of Delta wildlife refuges that are located just south of our agencies. And in the Central Valley, there are hundreds of thousands of acres of the last remaining piece in the Valley of the Pacific Flyway in our area. We also will provide regional economic benefits, jobs, farm gate output for our rural area, and a great flood reduction risk for the city of Patterson. Next slide, please. The reservoir, 82,000 acre feet. As I said, it'll have an average annual yield of about 55 to 60,000. We'll be able to put and take water at 300 cubic feet per second. Again, from the Delta Mendota Canal, pumped up into the reservoir and then released back down through the same facilities into the Delta Mendota Canal when needed. Next slide. So the reservoir is quite a big project. It's a main dam with 2 saddle dams, a spillway, and inlet-outlet works. Again, we'll have to build a conveyance pipeline that will connect the Delta Mendota Canal to the reservoir. So along Del Puerto Creek, under the aqueduct and the Interstate 5. We have a diversion outfall facility, a pumping plant. We'll need an appurtenant components to that. We will need to locate a facility, electrical facilities on the Bureau of Reclamation right away is where that's planned. There's some utilities in the area. Folks up in the canyon have telecommunications facilities that we will have to relocate. And there's an oil pipeline that runs along the west side there. And most of you have seen, if you traveled along I-5, the major Western Area Power Administration utilities and PG&E towers. So a lot of utilities to take care of. And the reason we're here tonight is we also happen to need to move a road. So we're here to tell you about that. And I'm going to let Mike come up and finish the presentation. And we'd be happy to answer any questions about this project and specifically about our efforts to give the West Side residents a brand new and state-of-the-art Del Puerto Canyon Road.
So the why, I mean, we have to relocate this roadway because basically if you looked at the footprint of the reservoir on the second or third slide, the existing Del Puerto Canyon Road goes right through the center of that reservoir. So it has to be relocated first before the reservoir can be built. It'll be upgraded to current federal, state, and local standards and a much better product out there to drive than it is currently today. Also preserves connectivity to I-5 for folks living up the canyon. Next slide, please. We're here today. The project partners are looking to develop collaboration and partnership with StanCOG and the county. We've done quite a bit of work with Dave Lehman and his staff relative to the criteria for developing the roadway and criteria, quite frankly, for going through a process of selecting from about 9 different alternatives that were developed through the course of the last year and a half. Next slide. Okay, design alternatives analysis. That process went on from about the end of 23 to June of 24. We had 39 criteria that we were using to not only design the roadway, but also to collect information to evaluate the various alternatives. We had 10 alternatives, actually 9.5. That's why I said to begin with, excuse me, and a couple of variations off of a few of those. But we took about 22 of those initially to whittle it down to an alternative grouping of about 4 alternatives. Then we applied all 39 criteria to those 4 alternatives and came up with a preferred alternative. 2 of the alternatives were the original alternatives from the EIR. Another 3 were developed by the county, and the remainder were developed by us during the process. Next slide. So there were a few things that were sacred in the discussions with both the county and with the partners, providing a safe and functional relocation of the roadway, environmentally sound process, serving both CEQA and NEPA, improving the travel times and emergency response time along that roadway, improve safety for cyclists, improving recreational opportunities or providing recreational opportunities, and then a low level of impact on the community as a whole. Next slide. So the benefits of this roadway, you can see I'll call it pink from where I stand, roadway, which is the alternative 9, which was advanced as the preferred alternative. It decreases the greenhouse gas emissions, pretty much due to the fact that it's a decreased travel length. It's about 3.9 miles. I think that it replaces about 5 miles of existing roadway. Affects the smallest number of property owners in the area. It provides for a reduction in travel time and emergency response time, as I mentioned. It avoids an increase in traffic on Diablo Grande Parkway, and it provides that connectivity that I discussed. So hopefully you can see this okay. The green, right along the green is the entire corridor. The green areas are either cut or fill activities along the roadway during construction. So there will be some cutting out there. There's a lot of earthwork that'll be moved during the course of the construction of the project. But basically the 3.9 miles is the corridor that you see there right now. Next slide. So This is very interesting. The orange dots along the corridor are elderberry bushes or groupings of elderberry bushes. Significant from the standpoint that there would be a permitting issue relative to permitting the entire corridor. The blue are tar plant bushes. And similarly, they're a little bit less affected and a little bit less significant in terms of the permitting process, but still had to be avoided to a certain extent. We couldn't avoid all of it, but it certainly did play into the corridor that was eventually selected. Next slide, please. This is a view from basically the west end, the starting point on the west end where we connect back into the roadway. There's a major cut there at the end of the one canyon. There is a bridge, if you can see that, a little bit toward the left center of the screen. And then we travel along that canyon up to the southeast, if you will, before turning directly east and connecting back up with the existing roadway. Next slide. This is the bridge I mentioned. It basically connects a small riverine area with the proposed reservoir. We went through a couple of different alternatives here, excuse me, relative to this area. It was either going to be a bridge or it was going to be a significant fill area. And the fill was about 550,000 cubic yards of dirt. Looking at it from an environmental perspective, the bridge is significantly better, providing a wildlife crossing and providing that open area that and less cost, quite frankly, relative to the dirt earthwork. Next slide. Where we are right now is in preliminary design, advancing 30% design plans. Final design sometime in the late 2025 year, and then construction. I can let Chris and Anthea talk about that, but probably somewhere, hopefully in that early 27 time period. We'd be happy to take questions.
Members have any questions?
I do.
How many miles up? Yeah, sorry about that. How many miles up does the diversion start? The new road start roughly?
It's about 4.9 because I think it's about a mile before it starts.
Okay. One question. The bridge you showed the picture of, it looked like in the drawing, it's going to be a 2-lane bridge. Is that going to be built for possible expansion? Because if this goes through, the occupancy up in that area may grow, or more traffic may wind up going through that area. And I would hate to see you guys build a bridge and then 5-10 years down the road, we have to build it to widen it. So is it going to be built for the future?
We haven't gotten that far in preliminary design. It's totally possible that we can look at that.
Yeah, I don't think we've even analyzed this being a growth inducing project.
Right.
We're just moving the existing road over a quarter of a mile or so. The first resident in the canyon is about another 5 miles up from where we would just re-intersect to the existing road. And there are a spackling of settlements and houses up at the top end of the canyon above Frank
Mhm.
Rains Park and around there. I'm not, we are not planning to build the bridge any wider. That probably would be cost prohibitive. As it is, this is a major component of what is supposed to be a water storage project that happens to have a road
Right.
in the way. So
Traffic at this point, current and future traffic really does not call for that either.
All right, thank you.
So do you have state approval? I know the state's been pretty hostile to water projects, the Sites Reservoir and a bunch of others. Are there any pending lawsuits or anything like that going on?
So we had 2 lawsuits. We've made our way through the Superior Court, and we just got a ruling from the appeals court just a week or so back. And incidentally, in that ruling, we won on both of the original findings from the local Superior Court, but they sent back a new finding to study some biological and terrestrial resources along lower Del Puerto Creek, where it runs through the ag lands to the east of Patterson all the way to the river. So we're going to go back and relook at that. But otherwise, we've cleared our other court issues that we have, legal issues. And the state, we do have a support from the state. We have a letter from the governor's office. We have federal support. We have our county supervisors in support of our project. There are the problem with some of the big storage projects. We were just at the Water Commission today, getting the whole rundown on everybody's project. There's good projects out there, but the permitting hurdles and the funding hurdles and the time it takes to get from design through permitting and through construction, sometimes it takes so long that these projects just don't survive. So.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask is because I know, the voters passed the proposition years ago to build reservoirs, and none of those have been built with that money. And I mean, we did just a parkway along our river in Waterford with a state grant, state approval, everything. And then afterwards, they come back and make us do all this mitigation for elderberry beetles and bushes and everything when it was their money and their approval for the project. But anyway. That's why, I just want to see this go through, and I'm hoping it does, because I know a lot of the impediments that have been put up in this state for, water.
Thank you. Yes, actually, the meeting we were at this morning was the Prop 1 funding review at the Water Commission. And the reason we were there is we are not in the group of 6 projects that were originally awarded funding, but we were successful several years ago in getting Del Puerto Canyon Reservoir conditionally approved by the Water Commission. So if funding comes available from any of the projects that drop out, we are waiting in the wings, and we do have an opportunity possibly to start participating. And we would be, I think in that group of projects, there are only 2 surface projects.
There's only 2.
There's only 2. All the rest of them are groundwater recharge or recycling water projects. So we would very much like to be in that group, because that's what the voters voted for, was storage projects.
Cindy, there was a message in the chat online.
Yes, I was going to tell you when you got to public comment. There's a question, has there been a traffic study?
Oh, yeah.
From a Carolyn Newman.
It was before we got involved, but there was, during the EIR, there was a traffic study as a part of that work.
Piers and Piers, right?
Fair and Pierce.
Yeah. Extensive studies went into our environmental document.
Mayor?
My question is, when is the reservoir, from my understanding from what you said, it's not necessarily approved, but it's
So it's
looking positive?
It's very positive. So it is approved by the Board of Directors of Del Puerto Water District and the Exchange Contractors Water Authority, San Joaquin River Exchange Contractors Water Authority. We did decertify our EIR to address our court challenges, and now we're going back down and we're going to redress the last issue, and then we will issue probably a supplemental environmental document, and then we will take it back to our agencies for approval. So on these local projects, the project itself gets approved by the agency that's sponsoring it. But the other challenges you run into, as the gentleman said, is we also need many permits and approvals along the way. So
Would having this road approved and started help with the possibility of the reservoir?
we will not start to move the road until we have the project fully approved and funding lined up.
The reservoir project?
Correct.
All right,
Yeah,
that
this
was
is
my question.
This is a component of that project,
Okay.
so they don't happen independent.
Meaning that we wouldn't want to do the road and then not have the reservoir be built. So that sounds like that would not, that's not even,
Right. I don't think that the farmer ratepayers in my district would want to build the road until we were sure we were going to build a reservoir.
that was my question. Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? Formally open it up to the public. Anybody in the public? Comment or question? Any additional comments online? I think you're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know you have a busy agenda and we very much appreciate your time today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Rose.
Moving on to consent calendar. Any members that would like to pull an item on the consent calendar? Any members of the public that would like to pull an item on the consent calendar? Go back for a motion. Got 1 second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. The 2025 Federal Legislative Update. Verbal report by Gene Vito. Actually, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you so much to the chair for the introduction and to the rest of the policy board for your time tonight. My name is Jen Covino. I am the president of Covino Smith and Simon Incorporated, and I have the great fortune of being able to represent the Stanislaus Council of Governments back here in Washington, D.C., where, as you can tell, we have had some very exciting times back here over the past few weeks. So I look forward to providing you with a quick review of key federal legislative and regulatory developments here in the early weeks of the Trump-Vance administration. So just for some background, obviously you're all very likely aware of the fact that the Trump-Vance administration assumes office this time with the Republican governing trifecta across both the executive and the legislative branches. To date, 17 of President Trump's cabinet officials have already been confirmed by the Senate, keeping pace with historic records, and the rest will be considered over the days ahead. Just for context of where we're going from here, the president's first 100 days ends on April 30th, 2025, but we are off to a fast and furious start here in Washington, D.C. Now, just for some additional context, pivoting over to Capitol Hill in the 119th session of Congress, lawmakers are contending with historically slim margins in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. Over in the Senate, Majority Leader John Thune, who succeeds Mitch McConnell, who held that office for a decade and a half, will start off his tenure as the leader of the Republican Party with 53 seats, compared with 47 held by Democrats. So it's important to note that the Republican majority in the Senate lacks a filibuster-proof majority of 60 seats. Over in the House of Representatives, there are currently 218 Republicans, 215 Democrats, and 2 vacancies. And Speaker Mike Johnson, who was recently reelected to that post, anticipates having 1 more Republican member depart over the weeks ahead because of their appointment within the Trump administration, which will leave a majority of only 217 to 215 seats until those vacancies are filled. Why is that important? Well, Congress is going to need to come to a resolution on how to approach the remainder of federal fiscal year 2025 before the current continuing resolution expires here March 14th. So there are some very important discussions ahead of us. Lawmakers may seek to address the national debt ceiling concurrently. As of now, what I would offer is that there's a possibility of another short-term stopgap extending federal funding. More likely, we may see a full-year continuing resolution. And there is certainly some potential alternatively for a shutdown here in mid-March. Now, why are the slim majorities important? Well, to circumvent the lack of a 60-vote threshold in the Senate, lawmakers are inclined to use the budget reconciliation process to advance many of the Trump-Vance administration's priorities with only a simple majority in the Senate. Now, they are subject to parliamentary procedure and the Byrd Rule, which requires that any legislative provisions included in budget reconciliation would produce changes to spending or revenue receipts with a budgetary impact that is not just considered merely incidental to the proposed policy change. And the Senate parliamentarian can scrub any provisions that are considered merely incidental when they undertake a process known as the Byrd bath. Now, why is that important? Well, as we go forward, you're likely aware of the fact that right now the Republican majorities on Capitol Hill are contemplating how to utilize the budget reconciliation process to advance a likely $5 trillion package that will include investments in immigration and border security, energy security, and also a slate of economic policies, including, perhaps most importantly, the extension or expansion of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. So while we're going to focus tonight on transportation programming, I do want to note that with tax reform ahead of us, there are some important opportunities to engage back in Washington, D.C. at the federal level over the weeks ahead. Some highlights of potential tax reform include potential expansion and modernization of the low-income housing tax credit to incentivize development of affordable housing there locally. There may be an increase to the state and local tax deduction cap, but there's also some potential risk here for important financing tools that are utilized by the Metropolitan Planning Organization and as well as Stanislaus County and cities within the county. As we consider potential revenue offsets to help finance the tax provisions, there's a 50-page menu that's been circulated by the House Budget Committee that are identifying revenues that could be generated potentially by eliminating the federal tax exemption on interest of state and locally issued bonds and the preferential status of other bonds that municipalities and public entities may utilize to fund critical infrastructure development, including private activity bonds and Build America bonds. Meanwhile, off of Capitol Hill, there are a number of prominent think tanks here in Washington, D.C., who are offering their views that target some key programs of concern to local governments, including the HUD Community Development Block Grant, which you all likely know can be utilized to fund public infrastructure in low to moderate income communities, which is being targeted by some think tanks for a 50% reduction as we look at cost savings ahead of us. Now, turning a page to where we've seen a lot of excitement as Congress gets its act together on budget reconciliation. Over in the executive branch, President Trump has made no waste of time issuing a series of executive orders and other actions. You're all likely aware of the establishment of the DOGE initiative to find efficiencies across the whole of federal government. And that includes goals of reducing administrative burdens, pursuing a deregulatory agenda that could be very helpful for public works projects. And then there's also proposed reductions in the federal workforce that we're seeing in real time, with the hopes of ultimately realizing cost savings to federal taxpayers. Now, last month, the White House Office of Management and Budget issued Memorandum M-25-13, which instructed all federal agencies to pause any disbursement or obligation of federal financial assistance. It only took a day for there to be an uproar from state and local government officials, and that memo was quickly rescinded by the issuance of OMB Memo M-25-14, but not before two very important lawsuits were filed. The first was filed by a coalition of nonprofits here in Washington, D.C., and the second was filed by a coalition of 22 state attorneys general led by the state of New York at the U.S. District Court in Rhode Island. In Rhode Island District Court, Chief Judge John McConnell then issued a temporary restraining order instructing the Trump-Vance administration to not implement a universal blanket freeze and to proceed with continuing to disperse and obligate federal funds. In a subsequent court filing, the U.S. Department of Justice, representing the Trump administration, clarified its interpretation that the temporary restraining order issued by Judge McConnell would not apply to each federal agency's separate and ongoing reviews of federal programs for compliance with a variety of other individual executive orders that had been signed by President Trump, including the Unleashing American Energy Executive Order that impacts the administration of federal transportation programs of concern to Stanislaus Council of Governments. Judge McConnell then found that the administration had failed to comply with the temporary restraining order and clarified that that order applied not only to the universal freeze instructed by that OMB memo, but also any ongoing reviews for compliance with the executive orders as well, urging the administration to comply and release funds to all grantees. Now, why is this important? Well, obviously, state departments of transportation have received notices from the U.S. Department of Transportation, as well as other federal agencies, notifying them that certain programs are either currently on hold, or in certain cases, federal grants are being canceled or rescinded. And so this represents somewhat of a watershed moment in terms of the executive branch's pursuit of revisiting previous annual appropriations made by Congress and awarded to project sponsors. And there will certainly be more ongoing litigation over the weeks ahead, challenging what the administration is trying to do here. Now, turning a page and revisiting that important executive order entitled Unleashing American Energy, I want to note that for those of you who are not familiar with it, that executive order instructs all federal agencies to pause funding that was authorized by either the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which is formally known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or the Inflation Reduction Act, for a review for alignment with the administration's new energy goals. It seeks to prevent federal resources from being utilized to advance the previous administration's goals related to electric vehicles, specifically referencing the NEVI formula program that's overseen by the Federal Highway Administration. Now, that obviously is taking a lot of staff time back here in Washington, D.C., but we hope to have more information forthcoming on basically a daily, if not hourly basis over the days ahead. Now, shifting gears and celebrating the fact that Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is now in office. If you can imagine, given the flight that crashed back here in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago, his attention was elsewhere, but he is now coming back to establishing new normal order as well as new discretionary criteria for infrastructure projects. And I want to note that as we look at local projects to prioritize for federal grant applications in the future, the U.S. Department of Transportation intends to prioritize federal investments that will benefit families, residents of opportunity zones, which was an initiative established by the previous Trump administration during the Tax Cut and Jobs Act discussions in 2017. And there will also be a focus on communities that have higher birth rates and marriage rates than the national average. The U.S. Department of Transportation, as I indicated, is continuing its review of existing and pending grant agreements for alignment with EOs, despite those aforementioned court orders. And so we want to forewarn you all that for those of you who have current grant agreements that are reimbursed on a regular basis, there may be delays, if not worse risks associated with some of your projects. And basically, the U.S. Department of Transportation was supposed to come up with a list of policies identified for changes by February 8th, with the rescission process that was slated to begin by February 18th, although again, the court litigation is complicating some of those timelines. I also want to call attention to the fact that the U.S. Department of Transportation issued a separate order entitled Ensuring Reliance Upon Sound Economic Analysis and DOT Policies, Programs, and Activities, which is going to emphasize rigorous economic analysis and financial efficiency to justify any future federal investments. So I want to encourage you to please focus on ensuring that any of your proposed project proposals that might be forthcoming for federal grants or other financial assistance, that they always have a positive cost-benefit analysis that demonstrates long-term sustainability of that project or facility without need for additional federal investments. And your cost-benefit analyses should no longer consider environmental or social justice factors. Now, there are a host of other executive orders that might have implications for your transportation projects, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of this, but for now, I just wanted to call your attention to some of these major milestones. I would also flag for your awareness that earlier today, President Trump announced his appointments to the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. That's going to be overseen by Special Advisor and Director Alex Meyer, who we, through some of our other clients, are establishing a relationship with. And if you need any contact information, please make us aware. We will also continue to share personnel updates in regular time as those announcements are made over the days and weeks ahead. But I also want to caution that given the level of emphasis on personnel reductions and the fact that last week more than 75,000 federal employees accepted a buyout offer, that coupled with the fact that 210,000 probationary employees are likely to be fired over the days ahead, federal agencies are actually tasked with overseeing a reorganization process that is to be reported to the White House over the next 30 days. And so if you can imagine, it's a time for a lot of transformation within the federal agencies. So I've been having discussions with StanCOG Executive Director Rosa de Leon Park and her staff, just advising that this year, in terms of a timing of a trip to Washington, D.C., I am encouraging the policy board to consider some dates later in the spring, waiting for the dust to settle here, to have a full understanding of which agency offices are impacted by the personnel reductions that remain ongoing at this moment. We are expecting the dust to start settling here over the next few weeks. And again, by the end of that 30-day period, we should have clarity about how each of the cabinet level officials propose to restructure those agencies to better align with President Trump's goals moving forward. And we're certainly excited and look forward to welcoming you back to Washington, D.C., to connecting you with the Trump-Vance administration, and to also connect you with your members of Congress, including your new members, Senator Adam Schiff and Congressman Adam Gray, along with the rest of the congressional delegation when you come back to Washington, D.C. Again, advising perhaps states that are closer to the May to June timeframe, which understandably I recognize is a little bit later than we would normally advise, but given the amount of change back here in DC, I think that will allow the departments to go ahead, assign personnel to key roles and responsibilities, and then focus on how they're implementing programs authorized by the infrastructure law and other laws over the weeks and months ahead. Once they get beyond budget reconciliation on Capitol Hill, we do expect authorizing committees to shift gears and focus on the next surface transportation reauthorization. And so it is also a good time for the policy board to be considerate of policy recommendations that we can share with the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, as well as the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee and Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, which oversees transit policy. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions you have. I just want to thank you so much for your time, patience, and the ongoing consideration, as there's been so much change back here in Washington. Thank you.
Jen, thank you very much for that update. Is there any members that have any questions, comments? Okay, and do you have a question? Go ahead.
Has there been any legislation that has taken place recently? Or the committees are still all in place? Has there been any legislative work?
Sure. So
happened?
the most committees on Capitol Hill spent a brunt of their time getting their organizational rules for governance in place. And so we are starting to see some opening hearings and markups of critical pieces of legislation. What I would say is, over on Capitol Hill, House Republicans have identified a priority list of legislation to address in the early days of the 119th session of Congress. A majority of bills that have been introduced and are moving or are on the calendar are actually related to immigration and public safety, given the administration's focus on those issues. And so we haven't seen anything substantial emerging yet in terms of transportation infrastructure, but the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee did hold its first hearing on priorities for the next surface transportation bill, which again, it will provide an authorization, a multi-year authorization governing how U.S. Department of Transportation and other agencies administer programs and policies over the next half decade.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. With that, I appreciate your time. There's no more questions.
Thanks so much, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, motion to approve the 2025 State Legislative Platform Verbal Report. Tonight, Mitch will be, there he is, here quick, sir.
Thank you. Mitch Weiss with Corey Consulting. Thanks for having me here today. You all have there the proposed state legislative platform. Mine was in strike through and underlined with the changes. Is yours also?
No.
Okay, okay, fantastic.
In your folder, there's a
In
StanCOG
this-
folder.
Okay, well, give you all a minute to find it.
Thank you.
First, there are not a lot of changes from the platform from last year. We are still have 6 key issues that we're focused on, and I'll go over those at a high level, but a lot of what's in those are really focused on preserving and seeking additional funding for priorities here. So the first one is delivering priority projects. That includes pursuing additional state and federal funding for projects here and support for conversion from the gas tax to something that's going to be equitable and revenue neutral. The second is regional partnerships, including working with the San Joaquin Valley Regional Policy Council to highlight the importance of both 99 and also key east-west connectors like 132. It also includes protecting funding, particularly when keeping an eye on some of the state proposals related to the use of VMT as a metrics and related to what's called CSIS, the way California or Caltrans looks at screening its projects. The third is transit funding reform, looking at extending Transportation Development Act flexibility, preserving funding for transit, and again, looking at a successor for the sales tax on diesel, which is an important revenue source for transit. The fourth is greenhouse gas reduction mandates. This is monitoring the conversations at the state level, particularly with an eye on protecting the funding that we get and opposing efforts to continually revise our funding target or our greenhouse gas reduction targets, excuse me. Fifth is passenger rail, enhancing service from the Valley to the Bay Area to Central California, and maintaining and increasing funding for ACE and Valley Link. The sixth is affordable housing, sustainable communities, which is, again, protecting funding and seeking additional funding, particularly for regional and local planning efforts that the state requires. And then lastly, I would note we're planning a legislative day on the 26th of this month. That'll involve going to Sacramento, meeting with leaders in the administration and members of our legislative delegation to explain our priorities. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any
Bless
members
you.
have any questions? Bless you. No questions? Mr. Carr, any questions? Any members of the public? I think you're good.
So this is an action item.
Go back for motion to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There he is.
Thank you.
Okay, item number C, State Route SR 132. This is a update by Tony Harris.
Good evening, Chair and Directors. My name is Tony Harris. I'm the Manager for Strategic Project Delivery here at StanCOG. I had the pleasure to present to you an information item on the status of the efforts to complete the State Route 132 in particular. First slide. So this slide is just a quick reminder to show the limits of what the project is. State Route 132 West, the improvements go from Needham Street out to Gates. The ultimate configuration of it would be a 4-lane expressway with a freeway-to-freeway interchange connection at 99. There would be a interchange at Hart Road, Gates Road, and there'd be ramps to and from the west at Carpenter. Next, please. This is basically a slide to show the new logos, and I'm gonna stop saying new because we have it in place for a few months now for the quarter. And I'm gonna really emphasize my presentation tonight on the ones that are shown in gray. The State Route 132 West from Dakota to 99 was completed and opened to traffic in 2022. StanCOG has taken the lead on the 99 132 interchange and also the Gates to Dakota improvement. So I will focus on giving the update as relates to those projects that are highlighted in gray. Next, please. So Gates to Dakota, what the focus of that improvement is to basically extend the 2-lane expressway that was opened in 2022. It would be extended out to Gates. there would be a roundabout at Gates connecting it back to the existing Mace Boulevard, and there would be overcrossing bridges constructed at Hart Road and Dakota Avenue in particular. Next. And the 99 and 132 interchange, now there's not a direct freeway to freeway connection between the facility that was built in 2022. This would create those direct freeway to freeway connections, and it will also basically reconstruct and improve the Kansas Avenue interchange improvement as part of that project. Next. Where we are in the process, preliminary engineering has been completed. The environmental document process has been completed. We're currently preparing the design and acquiring right-of-way for the interchange project and for Gates to Dakota. Our effort is to acquire the right-of-way for the ultimate project so that when we come back with later phases, we do not have to go back to property owners to acquire additional right-of-way. Next. So now I'm going to start giving you a little status update of where we are on each one of the projects that we're actively working on. For Gates to Dakota design update, the 65% plan specification estimates, they were submitted in January of this year. And basically, those were provided to Caltrans and also to the county and the city, who are all our partners in this, so their team can review it and give us comments and feedback on that part. In addition to that is we have started coordinating and meeting with the Modesto Irrigation District and the property owners out there, because as this project goes through this area, there would need to be some irrigation adjustments and coordination during the construction and ultimate implementation of the project. Next, please. For the interchange, the 95% plan specification estimates are scheduled to be submitted in April of this year. And we have initiated coordination with the city of Modesto regarding impacts for their corporate yard. There are some right-of-way that's needed there. There's some facilities that need to be relocated. There's some utilities need to be relocated. So we actually have been meeting with them. We had at least 2 meetings with them, and we're currently developing information and coordinating with that. In addition to that, the interchange project will require the construction of some drainage basins and pump stations, and we are starting to coordinate on how to access those and coordinate those designs facilities. Next, please. For the right-of-way acquisition update, Gates to Dakota, and the way I have the slide structure is to explain what is needed and where we are in the process. So for acquisitions Gates to Dakota, there are 22 acquisitions that are needed. Not all of them are full, some are partial. We have completed the appraisal inspections for all 22 parcels, and we have also completed the actual appraisal for 8 of them. The slide there says we're starting to present offers in March. I will tell you that we have already presented 5 offers that we have made our way through the process. No responses back yet. They've just gone out, but we're at the point now where we're actually making specific offers to property owners to actually acquire properties. Relocations, there are 3 residential properties out there that require relocation. There are no business relocations identified in the Gates to Dakota project. Next, please. The interchange project for right-of-way, there are 44 acquisitions that were needed, and all of the appraisal inspections have been completed. We have 14 appraisals completed, and we're making some offers already to property owners in the interchange area in particular. So we are really getting into detail on the right-of-way acquisition process, and we will begin to get feedback as we negotiate with property owners. There are 24 residential relocations that are needed, and there are 4 businesses, and the relocations have not initiated or started at this point as we're still acquiring properties, making offers. Next, please. Community engagement. We're continuing to reach out to local organizations and businesses on outreach. We've been sharing information about the project, providing information that could be used for social media distribution by them. We have worked in StanCOG through your social media. We have provided information. We have websites, and we have fact sheets that are in both English and Spanish. Coordinating and looking for opportunities for media and news coverage. Modesto B did run an article last fall about the project and update. And we're beginning to look at community events and where we can go out and make presentations. We identified a few that we're considering coming up in the next few months. The good thing I would say also is more people are discovering the website, and we're starting to get more inquiries coming into the website, which is what we want to see happen. I will also tell you that as the right-of-way process is moving, my phone is ringing more often on a regular basis, but we have a very responsive team that are responding to people. A lot of inquiries we get is wanting to understand the process. We have Monument who's responding that same day in most of the time as the calls come in. Next slide. So schedule, where we are scheduled, previously when I stood in front of you, I had like seasons, like summer, fall. As we make more progress, we as a team are getting more comfortable in actually saying months as we kind of see where we're going in particular. So Gates to Dakota, our target is to complete the right-of-way certification process in October this year. That means that we have acquired the right of way, or we have the right to enter for the construction. We have resolved the utility conflicts in particular. And once we do that, we will achieve the ready to list milestone. The key with that is our target is to begin construction in April 2026. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that target date's about. And I estimate if we start in April 26, that will be completion in October 2028. The interchange project is taking a little more time. The right-of-way cert is targeted in March of next year. We're ready to list. And then we could look at beginning construction in summer of next year. It's a more complex project, so you'll notice that the construction period is even longer. So next, please. So from a construction funding perspective, Gates to Dakota, the estimated construction cost is $77 million. A trade quarter enhancement program application that was jointly submitted by Caltrans and StanCOG was submitted to the California Transportation Commission. Staff at the commission is supposed to provide their recommendations the first week of June, and then the commission would basically adopt that program the end of June. So first week of June, both Caltrans and StanCOG will know whether or not the staff is recommending that project for funding. If that is approved, the project is fully funded and will be able to proceed on the schedule I presented to you for construction. So next slide, please. The interchange is more complex from a funding perspective. The estimated construction cost is $256 million. There's potential funding sources out there, federal, state, and also there's some funds in the measure program. Just last month, StanCOG basically submitted a federal build application. I want to give kudos to the team here and also the consultant team. As the new administration came in, they changed the criteria in the middle of it and didn't really extend the deadline, all right? But the team was able to adjust and still meet the requirements and submit an application. There's still work we need to do in developing the additional funding. A key piece is having the project ready to go. And that's been the strategy all along is as we getting it ready to go, continue to explore and look at what new opportunities come up for funding in particular. Next. This is the website, and I really encourage all of you, if you have people that are interested and want to know more about it, please send them to the website, sr132west.com. QR codes there that you can easily go to. We make sure we have that on the fact sheets and everywhere to make it really accessible and easy for people to use. If you are aware of opportunities that you would like to have presentations done or for the team to show up to share more information of the project, please do not hesitate to let us know. Okay. Next, please. So that brings me to question and answer. I have here in the audience with me the design team, Mark Thomas, and we have Monument working on right-of-way, and we have Nossaman who's providing legal assistance in the right-of-way process. So, and online, I believe we have Prozio, who is our community engagement consultant, in case there's questions.
Any of the board members have any comments or questions? See him. Go ahead, Rosa.
Thank you for that presentation. It's really impressive how you and your team have not only communicated with this policy board, but with the community. I think your outreach and your method of communication um, has been very effective and is good. And from what I heard you say, it translates into questions from the community. But where there's questions, there's answers, and you build the trust and level of communication. So your team has done really, really well with that. So kudos. On your Gates to Dakota, you reference a roundabout on Gates. I didn't see it on your diagram. Is it literally on 132 Gates at that intersection?
Yes, it is. Could you go back to, keep going? Nope, that's, okay. We didn't show it on this diagram. We have a different one that shows.
I'm visualizing it. though, right
Yeah,
there.
it is literally gates get realigned, and basically it's a little road called Russell where there's a realignment, and then the actual roundabout is on 132. The roundabout in the future will become one of the ramp intersections. All right, is what we're doing, and we've done analysis uh, to make sure that a two-lane facility, it would function, it was work, and submitted to Caltrans. They reviewed it, they approved it. We've also shared it with the county.
So given that a roundabout, one of the functions of a roundabout is to reduce speed, and how does that work in an expressway? So we have an expressway, the function of an expressway is to move cars quickly through there at a fast speed. So how does it slow down so that they're able to utilize the roundabout?
So as you go west of Gates, you still have a conventional highway, which is one lane each direction. And you will want traffic to slow down as they transition from expressway. Every roundabout or design so that traffic has to slow down as it enter it and as it exit. So with it being a roundabout there, one of the function it will do is traffic calming as we transition from an expressway into a two-lane conventional highway. In the future, when the ultimate project comes back to add the fourth lane out there at this location, it will be a four-lane facility, and that roundabout will be the ramp intersection, and a second roundabout will be at the other ramp intersection on the north side of the main line. And then the environmental document showed a transition of the four-lane facility into a two-lane facility with different traffic calming features.
Okay. I'm
It's
having
not clear, but I'm more than happy to sit down.
What's the speed limit on the 132 express lane?
Ed?
Yeah, like 50 something.
It'll be posted at 65.
Okay. So I'm having trouble visualizing someone going 65 and then taking a roundabout.
Yeah, it's,
Come to the microphone.
So I imagine there'll be lights or indicators or something that tells the person slow down.
Signing and striping would, Ed Noriega with Mark Thomas, we're the designers for the project. And the geometrics, the design of the alignment of this initial phase of the project, there will be curves, signage, and striping that they're called traffic calming devices to encourage vehicles to slow down as they approach the roundabout, making it a safer for everyone to make that movement.
That'd be a harsh transition to go.
I will commit that in my next update, I will include some specific slides so we can walk through it in detail. So that's a good question. I mean, it's what we're trying to do by having the roundabout here is to avoid throwaway. All right. The other option is we could have kept and built the main line, but we would end up having to reconstruct it. And funding is limited. And so we was trying to figure out a strategy and approach to minimize and avoid throwaway.
My last question is in regards to both the SR 99 132 interchange and Gates to Dakota with the respective acquisitions, there was residential impact. Was that seamless, or were any of those volatile and you see it going to?
We're in the middle of it. We're just really getting started, so I can't totally predict. We have some of the residents that when we first sent out the letters of notice to do appraisals, they were surprised because they had just recently bought the property from previous owners that did not disclose. All right. So that created a storm for a little while, but we worked our way through that. And so we have not had any residents deny us permission onto the property to do the appraisal inspections. We have offers starting to go out. There is 3 or 4 residents who call me every week pretty much saying, where's my offer? You know, and then, you know, there's others, all right, that we have out there. So it's too early to fully tell. All right. I think as the offers go out, we will have a better understanding of the overall situation.
Any additional comments or questions?
Tony, thank you, as always. And just quick question, then just a comment. So on the Gates to Dakota, the Hart Road, we're buying the right of way, but the interchange isn't included. Interchange at Hart Road is not included. Construction of the interchange is not included in that 77 million.
That is correct.
And so that's probably a long ways off, probably, before that actual construction happens at the interchange at Hart, you think?
Yeah, well, I get that question a lot. And what I say to people is we're really focused on getting that 2-lane expressway and getting the interchange. As we get those moving and getting them out and funding and construction, then my recommendation is really is let's go back and start the design and get that process moving as well. So I really resist saying how long out
Yeah, that's
because
okay.
it's the funding part in particular.
Correct. And I want to finish this just with a comment. What you guys are accomplishing and doing is just unbelievable. You're doing great work. This project sat there for 60 years, and what we've done in such a short period of time here is amazing. And I've seen you work out there in Monument out there with regard to the right-of-way purchases and meeting with people. And I know we've had a couple instances that didn't go very well, but no fault of yours, that's for sure. And other ones that just people very, very much appreciate your approach to these things. So again, the day will come when the roundabout will disappear and this will be a freeway all the way to cross the river, and not probably in our lifetime, but it's amazing just what has been accomplished here in the last few years in such a short period of time. And as I always say, you're a rock star. What you're doing out there is great stuff. We very much appreciate your work. So
Thank you. I want to thank the board for the positive feedback. I want to make sure I share it with the team, which is why I wanted some of them here today. But I also want to thank Grace and her team. I mean, she has a lot of people working with us, you know, and you don't always hear about it and see about it, you know, but they're constantly coordinating work with us, project managers, designers, right-of-way people, you know, so it's really is a team effort in particular. I also want to thank city staff, and I want to thank county staff too, who are engaged with us on a regular basis.
one thing I last wanted to point out, I wanted to say, that little bicycle might help us get some funding that you have on that logo.
It's by design, you know.
That's a big deal. I know it is. So I appreciate you putting that on there.
All right.
Any questions by the public? Online? Okay, thank you, Tony.
Mr. Chair, I do want to thank Tony and the team and everyone, I mean, and Caltrans and Grace, thank you for being here. The synergy is really, it works well, and I really appreciate everyone's hard work on this. And Monica, she's been working really hard on these right-of-way documents as well, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item D, motion to nominate the calendar year 2025 Policy Board Chair and Vice Chair and Executive Committee member selection if needed. And this presentation will be by Jean Fletta.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, so this item is to nominate and elect the members of the Policy Board to serve as the Chair and Vice Chair of the Policy Board for calendar year 2025. If needed, we'll select a representative from among the cities other than Modesto to serve on the executive committee. And so the policy board annually elects the chair and vice chair. The term of office for these positions is by calendar year. The chair and vice chair may serve more than one term if reelected by the policy board, and executive committee members are also selected each calendar year as needed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Monica to.
Are you guys doing a history? Was it Cindy or Monica? I know it's the most recent request.
So we were going to identify the procedure, but if you'd like to see the history of who served as the chair and the vice chair, Cindy has prepared that.
We'll do that first and then we'll do the procedure. And then that was a request by the mayor. Let me know when it's up. Is that it right there? Okay. I figured I'd just reach out to Vito, his institutional knowledge, if we don't have that. If you could please zoom in, unfortunately, some of us don't have that good vision.
So what you're looking at on this chart is a history of who has been the chair and the vice chair for the last, I think, 15 years.
15 years? Okay.
So it's by their name, by their jurisdiction that they represented, and the term.
Cindy, can you walk us very briefly on the years then and the city?
Let's go back 10 years.
Can't see it.
So this year, 2024, can you make it any larger, James? Okay. This year, as you can see, our chair was Javier Lopez from the city of Ceres, and our vice chair was Pam Franco until her term ended. And then they were also the chair and the vice chair in 2023. When you go back to 2022, our chair was Terry Withrow with Stanislaus County and Richard O'Brien with the city of Riverbank. They also served in 2021. Going down to 2020, Jeremy Young with the city of Houston was the chair, and Terry Withrow was the vice chair. And that was the same situation in 2019. 2018, City of Modesto was represented as the chair by Councilmember Bill Zalaki, and the City of Turlock had a representative with Mayor Gary Sosa, and that was in 2017 as well. Prior to 2017, member Vito Chiesa of Stanislaus County was our chair, Bill Zalaki vice chair, and that was in you'll see the change there. We changed to calendar year terms in 2016. Prior to that, it was fiscal year, so it was July 1st to June 30th. And Vito served 2 fiscal years, I should say, before that, with Mayor Garrett Marsh with the city of Modesto as the vice chair, and then Bill Zalaki took over after that. Prior to that, we're going to fiscal year 13-14. We had City of Patterson Mayor Louis Molina as the chair and Supervisor Chiesa was the vice chair. 2012-13, we had City of Waterford as the chair with Mayor Charlie Gokin, and the vice chair was City of Patterson, Louis Molina. 11-12, Stanislaus County was represented with the chair as Bill O'Brien and Charlie Gokin, vice chair. 10-11, City of Modesto, Mayor Jim Reidenauer was our chair. Supervisor Bill O'Brien was our vice chair. Fiscal year 9-10, Stanislaus County chair was Jeff Grover, and Mayor Reidenauer with Modesto was the vice chair. 8-9 fiscal year, City of Oakdale was represented by Mayor Farrell Jackson as the chair and Supervisor Jeff Grover as the vice chair. So I think that goes back
Thank you very much.
15, 16 years.
Cindy, can you tell us which years were the best chairs? Can you?
Well, obviously when you were, right?
Anybody have an issue with that? All right, procedure wise, what are we looking at?
So good evening. So procedure-wise, the board can make nominations for the chair. And as nominations are made, Chair, if you will repeat those nominations, we will keep record of them. Once the nominations are completed for the chair, the board will vote on those nominations in the order in which they were made. The first person nominated to receive a majority vote of this board will be elected the chair for the calendar year. And then we will repeat the process for the vice chair. And then based on who is elected for the chair and the vice chair, we will then look and see if we need to make any appointments to the executive committee. And those appointments would be made by the cities other than Modesto. Those would be the agencies voting on those if needed. So with that, we can, Chair, if you're ready.
Okay, nominations are now open for chair. Mayor, open.
Yeah, if you see in the history there, we used to be that kind of split between the county and the cities and they alternated. This last kind of iteration where there's two cities, I mean, it seemed kind of a little, not the way it used to be done. And I think it was better when there was some alternation and kind of sharing of duties. And so I would nominate Buck Condon as chair. And if I could make another nomination of George Carr as vice chair.
I think we got to do one at a time, right? Is that procedure wise?
We can note the nomination, but we'll vote for chair first if that's the pleasure of the board.
Are there any other nominations? Okay,
I'll second the nomination of Buck Condit for chair.
can we get a roll call, please? Cindy?
So Monica, we're just going by the chair first.
Chair first, yeah.
Member Chiesa,
Aye.
Member Buck Condit,
Aye.
Member Chance Condit,
Aye.
Member Withrow,
Aye.
Chair Lopez,
Aye.
Member Carr,
Aye.
Member Zwollen,
Aye.
Member Rosa Escuchet-Brayton,
Aye.
Member Wright,
Aye.
Member Graham,
Aye.
Member Gilbert,
Aye.
Member Clausell,
Aye.
Member Hernandez,
Aye.
Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Gokin.
Aye.
I believe we have a unanimous 15-0 vote.
Awesome.
Now,
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Buck.
Thank you. Thank you.
You barely made it.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor to even be nominated amongst this group to be able to represent the policy board and be able to lead this group. I want to keep it on the same tracks that Mayor Lopez has kept it on.
Certainly hope.
I use the tracks to keep the rail people
Kidding,
happy.
it's a joke.
You owe me a
Light
burrito now.
levity here, people, levity.
You owe me a burrito now just for the comments. No, I don't know. That's because I got love for her. That's why.
No, but it's an honor, and I just promise I'll try to do the best job I can.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to nominations are now open for the vice chair. I know we had one on the table.
I believe there was already a motion, and I'll second the motion as myself for vice chair.
Okay, is there any other additional motions? This time, I'm just going to say,
First of all, I can't believe he seconded his motion. George, it's veto. So I'm going to second that motion, but I wanted to say something. Last night I had talked with Member Hernandez. We had a nice discussion about just, what it takes to get into leadership and the other things. And it was a wonderful conversation in how we do this. And again, I'm seconding your motion, George. So just, if you give me just a minute. And I think about how we've done this, and we went back to 2009. That was the year I got on when Farrell was the chair. Thank you very much. And there was always a pretty common rotation, get on to exec committee, and you see the vice chair always went to the chair until a couple of years ago. And again, that doesn't mean anything. We can do whatever we want as a board all the time. But we have more interest than we've ever had in getting involved in leadership. We never had that before. I don't know, Charlie, when you can tell me when you were nominated if there was a race, but I don't remember there ever being, because there was a kind of a set pattern. But I'm excited because there's so many people that want to get involved, and there's not enough. They used to have one-year terms. They still are one-year terms, but you can serve 2 years. Nobody ever served 2 years in the past. So if there is so much interest in the future, we may think about that. I don't know that we have to, but I appreciate, Rachel, the conversation we had. And I know there's going to be spots open for exec committee for the small cities, and I hope you consider it.
Okay, so I was going to ask one by one, but I think it might be unanimous. I'll just say it. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those not in favor? Okay,
Congratulations, George.
congratulations.
So thank you, Chair Carr.
Thank-
So, oh, go ahead, Member Carr.
Thank you very much, everyone. I am looking forward to this position, and I hope to keep the organization and this policy board at the forefront of all the decision making and making sure this county and all its residents thrive.
Thank you very much.
Chair.
Yes, you may.
With all jokes and fun aside, it's very challenging to be a leader, and this is your role as chair and the role as vice chair. You're a leader amongst leaders. So I wanted to thank you and applaud you for your effort and your work that you went in to managing and facilitating this conversation. I know that it takes a lot of demand on one's time, and that's not easy. So thank you for your service. And I know that.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, for sure.
I just want Vito to be proud of me.
What was that, Carr?
I said, I just want Vito to be proud of me.
Yeah, oh, here we go. I had just sent you a text.
Okay. So, okay, now that leaves an opening for exec, is that what it is?
Yes. So now currently on the executive committee, we have Member Chiesa. We have our new chair, Supervisor Buck Condit. We have Mayor Zwollen from the city of Modesto. Now we also have our newly elected vice chair, George Carr from city of Houston, leaving one opening to be filled by a city other than Modesto.
Yes. Can you speak into your mic? Member Gokin?
Member Lopez was serving on the executive committee due to his position as the chair of the policy board. The chair and the vice chair of the policy board are automatically on the executive committee. So if it's the pleasure of the board, then Member Lopez is available amongst the cities other than Modesto to nominate him to fill that vacancy.
Right, I mean, traditionally, when we did that, we went into either another room and had a small cities discussion. I mean, I'm good. I'd say I nominate Javier unless somebody wants to go have a discussion in a different room.
I have a question. Our City of Modesto representatives we're not a part of this nomination or voting for this particular position, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we allowed to nominate someone? Or I don't know how this works exactly. Okay,
he
I
just nominated.
nominate member Rachel Hernandez.
Okay, we have one nomination and we have a second nomination. We'll go with the first nomination. And since we have two nominations, Cindy, can we go one by one
Okay, so the first nomination is
Or
for me?
for
Mayor, Member
Javier Lopez. So Member Chiesa?
So it's just
Yeah.
the cities
I'm
other
sorry,
than.
gosh.
Just the small cities.
I knew that, I knew that. Chair Lopez, you're
Yes.
the first
aye.
one. And George Carr.
Yes.
Member Graham. Member Gilbert.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. So
We're voting for
Voted for me first. If
Javier
you say
Lopez.
no, then
very hard, Javier.
you
No.
don't have to apologize. You're fine. Give her a cookie. She's fine. It's all love here, trust me.
Was that a no?
That was a no. Yeah.
Thank you. Member Clausel,
No.
Member Hernandez,
And it is all with love, no.
Member Phillips.
I'll say, oh,
This is for Javier Lopez for the executive committee.
Yes.
Member Gokin
Yes,
for
We have a tie
4 to
vote.
4.
We have a 4-4 vote.
Okay.
So what's the procedure for the break? 'Cause she has a black belt in karate, and I don't think
Right.
that's not gonna, this ain't gonna be a Krav Maga.
Do we go on to the next one and then, okay.
Move on to the next nomination.
Okay, so this is for member Hernandez to be the executive committee member for a city other than Modesto. So
That still
again,
needs a
Javier
second,
Lopez,
so I'll second it.
I'm sorry?
Still needs a second, so I'll second it. Hers never got seconded.
Oh, it didn't.
I'll second.
Then you have to third it. I've already seconded.
Third it, whatever it takes, whatever it takes to push it across the finish line.
Okay. All right. Javier Lopez,
No.
member Carr,
Sorry about that. No.
member Graham. I didn't hear that, sorry.
Said yes.
Aye.
Yes, okay. Member Gilbert,
Yes.
member Clausel,
Aye.
member Hernandez,
Yes.
member Phillips,
No.
and member Go.
Yes.
So that's a
That's
5-3
5.
5-3 vote, and we have 8 cities, so that is a majority vote amongst the cities other than Modesto to appoint member Hernandez to the executive committee.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Rachel.
Thank you.
I have a note here that says, Mr. Chair, if you would allow me to finish out the meeting, I can do so. Thank you for the note. Okay, so it looks like we have some information items. I hope everybody read that. And then we have the Caltrans report. Right, Gregoria Ponce.
No.
No?
Actually,
Great.
Chair,
You
it's
know what? This is
Grace
the-
McSayo tonight.
You know what? Jokes aside, remember to make sure that the names are right here.
It's all right. Well, good evening, everyone. I just have a couple of items, mostly grant opportunities. And well, one is more of an outreach item to better assist our partners. Our Caltrans Division of Local Assistance Office of Environmental Compliance and Outreach is providing virtual office hours for California tribes, local agencies, as well as other Caltrans employees. And this happens every second Wednesday of every month. And we actually started last week. These office hours are being held through the Teams application. And it's an invitation to our partners to use this opportunity as ask any environmental compliance and outreach questions. And this is specifically related to completing the preliminary environmental study form for transportation projects. So that is an opportunity and a resource for our partners to take advantage of. And we will be providing a flyer or a link to that MS Teams through email. Second, the U.S. Department of Transportation has issued a call for applications under Rural and Tribal Assistance Pilot Program that includes planning and design phase activities for developing transportation projects in rural and tribal communities. Funding will support hiring staff or expert firms to provide technical, legal, or financial assistance to advance transportation projects. And the available funding for this grant is $27 million. The deadline to apply is April 3rd, 2025. And county, state, city governments, and Native American tribal governments are eligible to apply. The last item to share was the California Wildlife Conservation Board has released its call for applications under the California Riparian Habitat Conservation Program. And this provides funding for concept proposals on projects that provide meaningful and sustainable improvements to riparian habitats. This is a much smaller, it's a $5 million, $5 million is available, and it's in a continuing base. There is no deadline, so it's pretty much open until the $5 million have been awarded. And nonprofit, public agencies, and tribal governments are eligible to apply as well. And that closes my update for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I just always want to thank you because I feel like we are so represented now at Caltrans level that we have a partner. And not that I didn't feel necessarily anything bad about it, but it's just different with you there. For some reason, I feel like you grew up here in the valley. You might have, but.
Well, I grew up in Fresno, so
Hey, that-
I'm a
that
valley
makes a lot of
girl.
sense. Yeah, appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate the kind words, and it's really my team as well. We really work as a team in the district.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Executive Director Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations, Member Condit, for your position, and Member Carr. It's exciting to work with you at a closer level, and I hope I don't torture you as much as I did with Member Chair Lopez, but thank you very much for taking that leadership role. Also, I want to, Grace, because you're here, I want to say thank you to you again and your team for coming and accommodating a meeting that it was asked by some residents in our community that are interested in beautifying 99. And we've heard this over and over. We've known each other for so many years, but you've known that residents and the partnership that you always bring to the table, we really appreciate it. And I heard it was an excellent meeting. I wasn't there, but I thank you for taking the time to come here and talk to them. So they were very pleased. So I wanted to say that to you. I also wanted to thank the board members that did attend a meeting with me. As some of you know, I was appointed to a statewide California Transportation Foundation, and I'm a board member to that. There was a meeting that was held in Sacramento last week. And I want to thank them for taking the time because it was like during the Valentine's week. And Member Phillips and Member Hernandez and our chair were there with me. And then it's a meeting that is high level. It's, as you can see, we were there with our transportation, our Tony Tavares, who is our Caltrans director. He was there. And so Secretary Tokes Omashakin was going to be a speaker, but couldn't be there, but his staff was there. So it was a very good meeting just to kind of see what's going on right now with the administration, where we're heading. So it was good to be at the table there. So I really want to appreciate all of your time, because I know it was like a short notice and you were all willing to do that and be there. So I appreciated your time for that. So thank you all, and thank you again for your attention to working with StanCOG so closely.
Congratulations on that
Thank you.
participation, and thank you to the members that went with you.
Yes.
You know, we all know our time is really limited, and Rosa certainly recognizes that. But I love to see pictures like that, where so many people on this board step up for whatever the situation is. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to member reports. Any members have any reports? Seeing none? Oh, you do? Yeah. Bati mire la mano.
Sorry.
We're gonna have to start doing
Dora.
light buttons.
I just wanted to report out because I attended the 2025 National Conference of Regions and board meeting in Washington, D.C., representing StanCOG there. So I just wanted to share my insight of last week in D.C. I'm one of 4 board members on that board. It's NARC, National Association of Regional Councils. NARC sounds really funny, but that's the acronym. And there's 4 California representatives, and I'm one of them. But as you can imagine, the topic of interest was, how is this administration transitioning, and what is the landscape like in terms of how it affects our transportation funding opportunities? And we received multiple presentations by policy wonks, people like Jen Covito, who's super intelligent. Everything Jennifer says is just like, whoo. But a lot of policy people like her presented to the group. And basically the end and the beginning of what I heard was that there's changes coming in, and we have no choice, obviously, but to adapt. And what I heard, again, loud and clear, was that we must continue to share our local stories that articulate the impact of the need to obtain federal funding for our local transportation projects, because bottom line is they are impacting our families in our disadvantaged communities. And they need to hear that from us, our anecdotal stories. The policy wonks have the data and they have all the policy level. They got it down, but what they don't have are the true life impact stories of how they impact our families, our workers, our livelihoods. So what we should be encouraged to continue to do is tell our local stories, but then also work with our federal elected officials that they continue to understand our project needs and our priorities. And that is just critical, because at their level, they can inform and educate the new administration and the new legislative staff in terms of our projects. But then we come in and support their efforts by sharing with them our local stories. So it is so critical that we do that at our various advocacy trips, both at the state level and at the federal level. So again, we continue to tell our stories by, one, being represented as I was at this last week at the conference, at the board meeting, and also to continue to work very closely with our federal representatives and having them be on board and abreast of our regional priorities and our regional needs. But also what's most important, and Jennifer hit on this in her presentation, is language matters so very much in all of our federal funding proposals. Language matters significantly. For example, the Biden administration emphasized infrastructure development with a focus on sustainability, equity, and modernization. When in the past, when we were seeking federal funding during the Biden administration, we would always focus, at least try to focus, on contributions to reducing carbon emissions, promoting public transit, as well as climate and equity elements. Those were elements that were important in those proposals. Conversely, in this administration, we are being directed more so for transportation funding priorities that lean more towards economic growth, family orientation policies, and user-based infrastructure models. And Jennifer kind of said that in different words, but those are things we need to do to continue to tell a story of our local projects, but just tell it differently. Those things matter. So the long and the short of it is that we just need to adapt to this new way and using new language and continuing to tackle our local projects and our priorities. And we do that by working with our federal elected officials, by working with our lobbyists, and continuing to tell our local stories. And feel free to share anything that you find compelling in your areas with me, with Rosa, with Vito, with those individuals that go and advocate both in Sacramento and DC, so that we can share the local stories and get the full picture across to our decision makers in DC. That's it.
Thank you. I know you were going to say something else, Rosa.
I meant to mention Member McFadden from the city of Houston. Thank you for being here. You've been here since the workshop, and I really appreciate your time. And also, yeah, Carlos Roca, but I think he's left for the day. But thank you. Patterson was well represented, so thank you. And Member Escutia Brayton, thank you for taking the trip. I'm sorry that I couldn't make it with you, but sounds like you did a great job being there for us and representing our region. Thank you.
Thank you. Unless there is no additional reports from members, we will now adjourn to closed session. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposures to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 and 4 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 5495691, potential case. You didn't tell me this was happening. Fired. There is no reportable action. Have a good night. This meeting is adjourned. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Okay, that was good. Did you get the lemons?
Humbling.